Good day, everyone. Good evening. I'm not sure what time you are looking at this video, so I'm once again going to say good day, and that's it, right? Good day, because I'm really not sure what time you're watching this video. It is running late because we had some issues with we had some cybersecurity issues going on. And rather than to let the devil have his way and play in his playground, we decided to go forth and go ahead with the video because this is covering information that all of us need to know about. This is going over information in reference to metabolic syndrome. What is metabolic syndrome? So, day 14, we are honored to have Miss Carolyn Coleman coming before us to speak. And as I always do, I bring senior subject matter experts on these issues because our community needs to know about them. We have had enough of, being told the untruth, or sometimes it's not the untruth, it's just not all of the truth. And so when we get sick and we become, ill in any way, or we are diagnosed with conditions, we're really at a loss as far as to what those conditions are, how they came about, where did it all started, because no one is really talking to us and no one is really telling us the truth. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Carolyn. However, what I do want to say is that I am proud, and very, very blessed to have Carolyn sitting on the board of the Chom's Medi House Foundation. She is a blessing to have. She's always giving. She uses her RN skills to make sure that, she gives us information that perhaps we didn't know. And she shares that information freely. Whenever I come to her and say, hey, I need somebody talking this subject, do you know somebody? She willingly says, yes, and let me look, let me see what I have in my, in my friendship circle that can help us. So I'm very, very thankful for that. Carolyn, I will go ahead now. And yeah, she's a nurse and she's been a nurse for 35 years. So I am going to turn it over to her and let her educate all of us, especially me. Miss Carolyn, is all on you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. I love your platform that you do know. Um, I have been a nurse for over 30 years. I've mainly worked cardiac. I've done critical care, case management, been charge nurse, utilization review. I've just been across the spectrum. So I'm an instructor. So I've done that off and on throughout my career. Um, but I enjoy what I do. So looking back, it just does not seem like it's been over 30 years, but it has been. And tonight, I'm going to speak on metabolic syndrome. And I hope you guys are able to glean some information from this, because one thing for sure, what we need to do is put ourselves first. If we have a diagnosis of diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever, let's not ignore it. Let's be proactive. Um, let's put ourselves first. Advocate for your health, ask questions, and remember it is less expensive to maintain than it is to repair. So if we get on top of things early and are compliant with our medical regimen, um, it will be better for you in the long run. Okay, metabolic syndrome. It is a combination of disease processes that can increase your risk of heart disease, stroke, and or type 2 diabetes. The conditions can include high blood sugar, high blood pressure, excessive body fat, especially around the waist, and abnormal cholesterol or triglyceride levels. Having one of those does not constitute metabolic syndrome, but having several of those, three or more, constitutes metabolic syndrome. Um, it puts you at a greater risk for more serious disease process. Each of these puts you at risk for cardiovascular disease, heart disease. When a person has three or more, it is diagnosed as metabolic syndrome. The chance of developing a serious cardiovascular condition increases with being diagnosed, with being told that you have metabolic syndrome. Okay. Um, the study is showing that apple and pear body shapes is what your healthcare provider is looking at. People who have metabolic syndrome typically have an apple shaped body, meaning you have a larger waist and you carry a lot of weight around your abdomen. It is thought that people who have that pear shaped body, meaning a smaller waist and larger hips, you have a decreased risk of having metabolic syndrome. And you have a decreased risk in having complications from your metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome, as you can see, we have to take it seriously. It's a serious health condition. It puts people at a higher risk for having heart disease, stroke, and diseases leading to fatty buildup, such as atherosclerosis, and that's plaque in your arteries. Um, Things you can do to counter metabolic syndrome: lose weight, um, increase your physical activity, and some contributing factors are genetic factors and increasing age. Now, we can't do anything about getting older, and genetics we can't alter too much, but we can control the diabetes and we can control our weight. We can control our blood pressure. Those are things you can control. Okay, so what you can control, we need to control. We need to be proactive in controlling those factors. Although metabolic syndrome is a serious condition, you can reduce your risk significantly by what? Losing weight, increasing your physical activity, eating a heart healthy diet that diet is rich in whole grains, fruits, vegetables, fish, and working with your team, being compliant. You and your doctor, your healthcare provider need to be on the same page. You need to get your screenings, your glucose levels, your cholesterol level. Make sure that you're taking your blood pressure and taking it not as soon as you get in the house or after you've had activity. You need to rest for about 5 or 10 minutes, take your blood pressure. You get a better reading that way. Okay. Um, Now, who's at risk for metabolic syndrome? In recent years, the syndrome has become much more common in the United States. Over 34% of the adults in the US have it. But it's also increasing globally. So that gives us something that we need to think about. Although some people are genetically prone to developing metabolic syndrome, others get it as a result of your lifestyle choices. So some people are genetically predisposed to insulin resistance. When it comes to race and gender, although Black men are less likely than white men to have metabolic syndrome, Black women have a higher rate than white women of developing metabolic syndrome. And the risk of developing metabolic syndrome increases with age. And we've already named what we need to do, what it can affect. Increase your chances of having a stroke, glucose levels being high, blood pressure level being high, um, your cholesterol being high. So those are things we need to control. Having that central or abdominal obesity and that waist circumference, these numbers are a little shocking, especially if you want to get out that tape measure and measure your waist. Men greater than 40 inches, women greater than 35. Now, high triglycerides greater than 150, 150 or greater, and taking medication for your high triglycerides. Your low HDL, which is cholesterol, or taking medication for your HDL. Men, um, less their HDL less than 40, women less than 50. High blood pressure 130 over 85 or more, because it definitely can be higher, and or taking medication to lower your blood pressure. A fasting glucose, meaning a glucose first thing in the morning, not eating, of 100 or higher, or taking medicine for your high glucose. So not only you having some of these disease processes, but the medication that you're taking adds to having metabolic syndrome. So if we can get off the medicine, don't just get off the medicine now. We have to get the numbers down first, and then you can be tapered off your meds. So that way you're getting double for the work that you put in. And that work, if you lose at least 7% of your body weight, will reduce your insulin resistance, and it will reduce your blood pressure as well. And with that, it will also reduce your insulin, um, the your insulin numbers. So it's a win-win to lose weight. It's a win-win to exercise. It's a win-win to eat appropriately. So the best way to treat metabolic syndrome is to address your lifestyle. And already spoke about it. I'm going to speak about it again, because the more I say it, you're apt to hear it. Diet, exercise, or weight loss. That will help you manage your symptoms. It will improve your overall heart health. Eat better. Adopt a diet that is rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, skinless poultry. Eat more fish, nuts, lean meats, vegetables, and protein. Limit processed foods. It's easier, it's quicker, but we need to eat less of it. Limit your saturated and your trans fats. Limit your red meat. Sodium per day. The amount of salt slash sodium should be less than a teaspoon per day. So if you're going to cook with salt, don't add it to your food once you get your food to the table. The best way, or one of the simplest or easiest way to exercise, is to start a walking routine. And I don't expect anyone who has not walked, get you a good pair of walking shoes, some that have a full grip, cushion, and start walking. I don't care if it's not but 5 minutes. 5 minutes there, 5 minutes back. And slowly increase that. Pretty soon it's 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back. The goal is to get to 30. It is to get to 30 minutes a day and at least 4 or 5 days a week. That will do wonders for you. Walking can also reduce stress. So you're getting double for your trouble, basically. Okay. And if you can get a partner, that's 3 times better. But if you can't get a partner, be determined you're going to be your best advocate for your health. Please take your medication as the doctor has prescribed it. And when he sees your numbers coming down, he's going to decrease your medication. That's a win-win. Stop smoking if you are a smoker. That will improve your overall health. Talk to your doctor about quitting. There's a 1-800-QUIT number, 1-800-QUIT. You can use that. Talk to your doctor. Please keep your healthcare provider in the loop of any changes that you're doing, even the good stuff. how you have changed your eating regimen, about walking, increasing that. They like to hear that. That makes them feel as though you are really listening to them. Managing your stress, whether it's taking a yoga class. And for people who are tech savvy and don't want to go to the gym, you can go to YouTube and get some of these exercise tips. They're on there doing full exercise classes, anywhere from 3 minutes to an hour. You pick the one that you want. Now we're going to talk about the DASH diet and its dietary approach to stop hypertension. My reference for this is National Institute of Health. And that diet helps to control hypertension. The DASH diet is rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grain, low fat, dairy foods. Foods in the DASH diet such are rich in minerals, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. The DASH diet focuses on vegetables, fruits, whole grains. It includes fat-free or low-fat dairy products. It includes fish, poultry, beans, nuts. The diet limits foods that are high in salt. We talked about sodium. We talked about salt. It is the same thing. It also limits added sugar and saturated fats, such as fatty meats and full-fat dairy products. I know I like my ice cream, but I can't have it every night. I probably shouldn't even have it every week. And a lot of times I don't. Okay, but it's comfort food for me. So we all have to make concessions to what we're doing. Okay. I don't like anything too salty. I never have. But some people do. And they need to slowly cut down on the amount of salt that they use, that they cook with. And please, like I said, if you cook with it, don't add it once you get it to the table. So that's a part of the DASH diet as well. If you aren't sure, just start reading your labels. I know it's cumbersome, but things that say low salt, no added salt, read that label. It has salt in it. Okay. And it's not as low as you think. Compare it to a can of, let's just say green beans. Compare the regular canned green beans to the low salt canned green beans. And I've done this myself. It is so slight, but it is lower. So, it's not false advertising. It's just not what you are expecting. And when it comes to processed food, like frozen lasagna and things of that nature, it's full of salt. That's how it stays processed. Um, so we need to read our labels. We need to watch what we eat. And there's nothing wrong with fresh. Absolutely nothing wrong with fresh fruits and vegetables. Sure, frozen fruits and vegetables are good as well. It's the processed foods we need to watch, and the other things that I named. Now remember, in closing, put yourself first, advocate for yourself, ask questions, take a friend or family member with you when you are going to see your healthcare provider. Remember, it is less expensive to maintain than to repair. Now, that's the end of my talk. If Sandra has any questions, anyone in the audience have any questions, if I can answer them, I will.
And what I do want to say is thank you, Carolyn, so much for coming in tonight, for staying. Of course, we were scheduled to do this at 6 o'clock. And once again, due to someone who doesn't want us to have, and when I say us, doesn't want us in our community, once again, to get the information that we need to get in order to live a full life and in order to get at that best healthcare outcome. They found it necessary to go in and do some messing around. Um, but as always, we found a way to get this done. So I'm very, very thankful to you and for you, staying there with me and saying, Sandra, you know what, we're going to get
No
through this.
problem.
We just going to find another way to get through this. But let me move past that because, of course, it's going to bother me. Let me move past that and ask you a question. When you say HDL and LDL, what is HDL and what is LDL?
The HDL is the high density cholesterol, and the LDL is low. One affects the liver more, or it transports out through the liver. The other one just stays in your system more, increases the plaque and things of that nature. So the LDL is the HDL is the better one, if we're gonna call it better, and the
Hmm.
LDL is the one that they don't care much for. So that's why you need to keep up with your cholesterol levels.
So I know that you just gave us a breakdown of the various foods that we should be eating, as well as the various. Well, you didn't give us the exercises, but you gave us where we could go to look for exercises. You reminded me of when I had COVID and I was home recovering from COVID, and I would turn on YouTube because, of course, I couldn't go out. I would turn on YouTube and I would pick up those exercises, like the Y would have exercises, different people would have exercises. And while I was still really weak from having COVID, I was actually able to do some of those exercises. I was actually able to sit in my chair and raise my arms a couple of times and do the bicycling and, do all of that stuff that I couldn't do because I wasn't able to go outside. So when you mention going on YouTube or go on Google or, whatever product you like to use, and actually seeing what you can do to increase your health chances. That was an excellent point that you brought up. I do also know that, well, I'm an iPhone person, so I'm partial to Apple products. But I do know that they as well have different apps on the phone and the computers and whatever that you could look into to see about exercising, right? And you can put in some keywords, exercising for best cholesterol or better cholesterol, and it will actually give you exercises that are specifically designed for you to do to keep that in control and keep that in check. Is there any other places that you would like recommend people go, like say they have, especially in our community, say they don't have the money to go to like a gym or to look, even have, surprisingly, what we found out in both of us found out in being book authors and selling our books in the metaverse is that a large part of our population in the metaverse, which is a virtual world, a lot of us don't in our community do not have access to a computer or a phone. So is there any other way that you could recommend that people are able to get access to exercises?
Yes, I do. Like I said, walking is the least expensive of it all, and you don't have to walk your entire neighborhood your first day. Like I say, 5 minutes there. Just look at your watch. If you start at 8 o'clock, 8:05, that's your 5 minutes. You have to walk back home. You can just stay right there in your community and walk back. That'll be 10 minutes before you know it. So that's the least expensive exercise. The most expensive part is probably buying the proper gear for your feet.
And you bring up a good point when you say that, because I know myself, I've had problems with my legs and problems with my feet. I broke my ankle once or twice. So I've had issues off and on, and I'm always told by the podiatrist, who is the specialist that works with the feet, to get good walking shoes. Um, and so I was like, good walking shoes. What are good walking shoes? And she gave me the names of some of the shoes that they consider to be good for walking. New Balance, Hoka. What's the other one she gave me? I can't remember. What the other ones did she? It was like four or five of them that was on the list. Um, that she was like, I recommend you get these for good walking. But how does one who doesn't have the economic means to be able to, because a pair of hokas, they're like maybe $200-300 sometimes. So how is one able to pick out what is considered a good walking shoe? Should that not be in their finances to go pay $200 for a pair of gym shoes or a pair of shoes?
Well, me personally, I would never recommend the Hokas at when you're starting out anything, because you need to be consistent. The better you become, or the more agile you become, you don't want to start off, to me personally, with a $200 shoe that's going to sit in your closet, because it may not be good for your foot. Just because it's a good shoe and it's an expensive shoe. Now I go to places such as Ross and TJ Maxx and get Nikes and Reeboks and things of that nature that are comfortable to me. I also put a gel cushion insole in mine, which is really cheap, and that helps give me more cushion. I want to be able. You don't want sore feet when you come back, so make sure it's a good fitting shoe. And if you really enjoy walking, especially if you decide to drive to a track, um, there is strength in numbers. You don't have to necessarily know the people personally that you're walking with or that you're passing as you're walking. You keep walking, you're going to develop a relationship with them, and they will have you talking and walking longer than you had anticipated. So I always tell everybody, slow and steady wins the race. But I would never recommend that expensive of a shoe. And just because it's expensive doesn't mean that it fits you correctly. So just try them on and see how they feel. And Sandra, I want to clear up what I said about HDL and LDL. Can I?
Yes, most certainly.
Okay, LDL, low density lipoprotein, cholesterol, sometimes called the bad cholesterol, makes up most of your body's cholesterol. High levels of LDL cholesterol raises your risk of heart disease and stroke. That we just don't need, okay? And then you have your HDL, high density lipid protein cholesterol, sometimes called the good cholesterol. It absorbs cholesterol in the blood and carries it back to the liver. So the LDL sticks around, and the HDL makes itself be a healthy partner for you. I
Okay.
wanted to make sure I got that in.
No, and by all means, I'm glad you did, because we don't know who it is that will be listening to this video, and what we
Oh,
don't
absolutely.
want to do is to actually have someone come back and say she said this and this is not right. Calling you out to task. We all make mistakes. None of us are human. I mean, none of us are perfect. I'm sorry. We're all humans. I said none of us are humans. We're all humans. And that's, as humans, we make mistakes, but that's how
Yeah,
we grow. It's
yeah,
not growing and coming and pointing fingers, but it's growing and saying, hey, you realize that, you said this and this isn't correct. There's a way to address people when they do make mistakes so that they can go back and they can actually correct themselves and correct what they said. Whether it's correcting it, putting it in a post or, whatever, it's still a correction needed. And sometimes, it's late for us. Um, it's been a long day for us. But we were determined to go forth and have this information provided to you. Why? Because our patients need it. In our African American community, there are a lot of us that are, have been, and I say us, I'm not one of them just yet, and I'm hoping I don't become one of, but us means that I'm a part of the community, right? And we have strokes, and we have heart attacks, and we have all different kinds of diseases and healthcare conditions that we want to be able to move past, and we want to be able to tell patients and tell caregivers and tell friends of patients, hey, look, do you know that this is what happens when you have this? So that's why we bring this information forward. And once again, we'll continue to bring it forward. It's February 14th. A lot of people are out enjoying Valentine's Day, enjoying the loves of their lives. And, they need to, right? We need to come together and we need to actually be able to enjoy ourselves. And in enjoying ourselves, though, we have to be mindful of what we're enjoying ourselves with. We have to be mindful that, hey, if I drink, 6, 7 glasses of wine, or 3, 4 beers, or overdo it with pasta, and rice and all the other things that we should not be eating, then these are some of the things that we have to look forward to, and we may be suffering from, because we're putting things in our body that we shouldn't be putting in our body. And so we have problems with cholesterol. We have cholesterol issues, and there's ways that we can handle it with. There's ways that we know about it. I do have another question, and then we'll be getting ready to wrap up. I don't see any comments on coming through, but I do have a question that I want to ask you. When a patient goes to their portal, right, and they're looking at their portal and they're looking at the results of the testing that they've taken. A lot of times in your routine panels, your doctors will run tests to find out what your cholesterol level is. And so when you go looking at it, because a lot of people, or the doctor will tell them, go look in your portal. I put the results in your portal. Well, when you look in your portal and you see your HDL, your LDL numbers, what number, at what point in time should you become concerned about what those numbers are reading as they come back to you?
Um, I may have it backwards, but it's if one is 150 or greater, that is a concern. And I think the LDL, if it's 40 in men or greater, it's concern, and 50 um, and greater in women, it is of concern. But when you're having it in your portal and you're not sure, that's when you and your healthcare provider need to talk, because you're not necessarily, I mean, everyone goes to Dr. Google, but you need to talk with them so that they can tell you exactly what that means, and not just with your cholesterol levels, with all of your levels, with your glucose, with your A1Cs. All that needs to be explained. Um, I can't speak on the portal because I've never used my portal. My physicians still call me and they send me um, a copy of my lab results. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. It makes sense. This is a thing. Not everybody has that relationship with that doctor where the doctor will actually have either him or herself, or have a member of the office staff call you and say, hey, your numbers came back and this is what they say and this is what they mean. Now, that does not mean that we can't ask them, hey, can you have someone call me from the office to see, let me know how my numbers are for my labs that you ran. That doesn't mean that we can't ask to see what they say. Some might come back and say, oh, sure, let me just go ahead and put that in your note to call this patient with her lab results and explain the lab results if they don't understand it. That's an option that you have that you really need to use. It's a part of using your voice when you go to the doctor's office. It's a part of being an engaged patient, is to ask the doctor or to speak to the doctor and say, hey, I really don't like using the portal. I'm really not sure, how to use it and what I'm supposed to be looking for. So is there a way that, someone from your office can call me and tell me this is what the doctor said, this is what this is? Or, with the notes. I know with the notes, and that's even difficult with the notes though, because I've actually, when me seeing a nephrologist for my kidneys, I actually look at, I was doing it before anyway, looking at my notes. And I understand my notes because they're fully written out. And if they're not fully written out, then I tell the doctor, you need to write out what you meant by this. But that's, once again, that's all a part of us being engaged patients and empowered patients, is opening up our mouths and asking the doctor, I'm really not sure what this means. So can you please help me? All they could do is say yes or no. The good thing about them saying no, I'm really not going to have the time to do it, is if you do decide to go in the portal and you do decide to actually read from the portal, get a copy of your medical information off the portal after your office visits. If you don't understand it, there's patient advocates, there's independent advocates such as myself and such as others that will not, you know, they won't tell you, well, no, we can't help you, because that's the purpose that we have, is to help patients be able to understand what their medical notes and what their medical records say. So please, once again, advocate for yourself. Ask those questions. Ask your doctor, hey, I'm really not sure how to use this portal thing they keep sending me to. So can somebody call me with my records? Or can you send me to somebody that can help me understand what my notes say? One thing that I do want to put out there is, please be careful. I say use your portal, but I want you all to be very, very careful about using that portal. And the reason why you want to be careful about using the portal is because there are now facilities, healthcare facilities, and medical groups that are charging patients to go to access their portal. So the last thing I want anyone to do is to go use that portal and then get a fee for it. A lot of times it's like $25, something like that. But even $25, if you don't have it, um, could mean a lot to you. So just check with your facility, with your medical group. Um, Find out from them, do you charge me to get a copy of my medical records or my medical notes, or use the portal, so that you'll know for sure whether or not they do or they don't. So that's just something to keep in mind. And once again, Ms. Carolyn, I'm going to go ahead and close out this evening. I thank you so much for all of the time that you spent with, going through this and with me. I thank you for being a dedicated member of the Chimes MediHelps Foundation board. I look forward to continue collaborations with you and your continued support. So with that beautiful smile of yours, can you put it on and tell us all like three or four parting words about the metabolic syndrome? I do have a question. I'm sorry, I told you I didn't, but I lied. I do have a question, and that question is: are there certain health condition diseases that are affiliated with having HDL or LDL? Is there certain conditions that we need to really be looking out for? That's tied to the metabolic syndrome.
Well, one condition in and of itself does not make it a metabolic syndrome. Okay, it has to be at least three. So when it comes to your cholesterol, meaning you can have high cholesterol, we want it under control because we don't want the plaque buildup. Um, so that needs to be under control. And even if you have high cholesterol and you're taking medication for your cholesterol, that's still just two. So it has to be three or more before it goes into metabolic syndrome, before they basically can define you as having metabolic syndrome. Now, I also wanted to say something about, adult beverages. That's the way when I talk with my patients, on the form it says alcohol intake. Well, these people are adults. And I'm like, do you participate? Do you have adult beverages from time to time? And they get so tickled. Well, yeah, I'm allowed. I said, yeah, you're over 18. You are allowed. I just need to know how much, and
Mhm.
they will laugh about it. But I honestly believe that they will tell me the truth. When you treat people as though they are people, um, 9 times out of 10, they are more apt to tell you the truth. They will tell nurses more than they will tell their physician. They will tell nurses more than they will tell their family. But when it comes to alcohol consumption, men can have 2 glasses of wine as opposed to women having one. Okay. But they also said men can have 2 drinks, whether it be alcohol or wine, and I guess you can kind of phrase it, or with straight whiskey or some bourbon or whatever. And but women still just need to have 1 drink, ladies. Okay, so
Yeah. Does the drink, does the, okay, so say someone comes in and they're, telling you, okay, well, I drink occasionally, right? Does that
mhm.
impact their cholesterol?
No, it doesn't really impact their cholesterol, but alcohol is a stimulant, so it can increase your heart rate. And if you're on the verge of having heart disease, you don't need that.
Okay, so that's a way to I don't want to say circumvent, but that's a way to hold at bay the issues that are closely related to the cholesterol issue, is to just be really mindful and be really open and transparent when you go to the doctor and they
Oh,
ask.
absolutely. If you're not going to tell your physician the truth, I mean, who are you going to tell? And how can they effectively treat you if they don't know the truth?
Right.
And people are, some people are very guarded about their social activities, and some people are very open. But if you don't ask the question, that you won't get the answer. I asked about smoking. I asked about illegal medications your doctor has not prescribed for you that you're taking, and you would be surprised. Some of them will say, "Yes, I take my buddy. He has this. We have the same condition, and so I take his medicine when I run out." And I caution them that you don't need to do, because what if he may be a little bit different from you, because all our bodies are different, and you have this disease process, and if he doesn't have this disease process, that medication you don't need to be taking. um so that kind of gives them a wake up call. One of my patients told me, well, when I run out of my blood pressure medicine, I just take my mom's. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
but so you and your mom are taking this. Oh, yeah, we take the same one. And I said, but what if mom runs out? What if mom runs out?
Mhm.
So, you want to educate, but you don't want to do it in a way that you're putting people down, because they will clam up and not talk to you.
Mhm.
Okay. But one thing now, I do have some patients that are very open about their substance abuse use. They're very open, they're very transparent. And then you have others who've never had anything in their life. But when you look at their labs, they've done more than they would have ever told you. So when you let them know there's nothing, I'm not sending this to the police, the authorities won't get this. This is your personal information. This is considered HIPAA. We can't tell anyone about it, but just be honest. That way we'll know how to treat you. Because if a person has 2 or 3 drinks every day, or a 6 pack of beer daily. And that's not a lot for some people. Okay. I'm not recommending that now. Don't y'all go out there and say, I said you could have a 6 pack of beer. I did not. I'm just saying, I know people who do. And if you come in the hospital, you're not going to get that adult beverage. You're not going to get that 6 pack. You're not going to get those 3 beers that you drink every day. So after about 2 to 3 days, you're going to go into withdrawal, alcohol withdrawal. And if you had told us from the beginning that's what you do, we could have started you on some medication to counter that, because you're agitated, you're delirious, you won't sit still. That is wreaking havoc on your heart rate, on your blood pressure. You're going through stressors you would not have gone through if you hadn't been honest with us. And that's all we're asking you, to be honest. Some doctors have said, bring him in a beer, let him have one. And, and they write the prescription for it, or they write the order. Patient can have a beer a night. Patient can have a nightcap. So be honest, and you will see how people work with you.
And so, with that being said, I am this time going to close it out. But
Yes,
put
yes.
that pretty smile on and give us 3 words to close us out of the metabolic syndrome discussion.
Advocate for yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your healthcare provider. It is cheaper, it is less expensive to maintain than to repair. Okay. So if you let things go on a long time, then it's going to cost you more in the end, physically, emotionally, financially, because your health is your wealth. And I want to thank Sandra again for having me on her platform, especially during this 29 days of Black History Month. We usually do an educational Wednesday, but Sandra had the calling to do an educational day every day of February. And so this is really an honor to be here and be a part of it. I do appreciate her vision, because she really wants people to get the needed information so that you can be better stewards over your body, you can care better for yourselves or your loved ones. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.